Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day, there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And holy schmoly, we're going to have so much fun with my guest today. We just spent hours and hours and hours chatting. Well, maybe not quite that long, getting to know each other before the program. And so we really are going to have a great time today. And I cannot wait to learn from my guest. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Jean Oursler to our program today. Sorry about that. How are you doing today, Dr. Jean?
I am awesome. Thanks so much for having me on the show. We had such a good time in the green room. Now we have to have such a good time on your show. I'm super excited.
I know. This is going to be so much fun. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this. And just so folks know, we're going to be a little bit shorter on the program today because we've got a little bit of a scheduling hiccup, but you'll still get so much great information from Dr. Jean. And I can already pretty much guarantee we have to have her on again. So with that said, Dr. Jean Oursler, otherwise known as the Results Queen, has a Ph.D. in business psychology and is considered one of the country's top business consultants, a top-rated speaker, and a world-class business performance coach. She is the author of Give Up Goals and Results Are Yours. So that's going to be interesting to talk about. As an entrepreneur herself, Dr. Jean is on a mission to help business owners get what they want from their business. So again, Dr. Jean, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited.
I know. We're going to have so much fun. So much fun. We're recording this on the Friday. It's a fabulous day. We're going to have so much fun. So I always like to find out from my guests how it is that they got to where they are today, and how did you discover that this is your passion in life?
It's been a journey, as it always is. I could start from the time that I decided I wanted to be a musician, to the fact that when I went to college, I decided that I didn't want to be a musician anymore. And I decided I wanted to be a theater person. Mm-hmm. And I have a degree in theater management. Mm-hmm. So I look at everything like a play or a show, right? So my people are actors. We have the set, we have costumes. Mm-hmm. You're an avatar. Mm-hmm. And then I moved into advertising because you can't make any money in theater. And I like having fun. Those are two things. And
eating, sleeping,
not getting laid off are really important. Although in advertising, you're only as good as your next client, because if you get laid off, you're out of there. Mm-hmm. Then from there, I did a bunch of different types of things like sales and operations, and eventually landed in a family-owned company that I created my own job in. I became an HR person. So I have a lot of different skills. And at the time, I didn't realize that that's entrepreneurial. I thought that I was just a job hopper. And I got pregnant, which I always think to myself, how did that happen? And then people talk to me about birds and bees, which
okay, you're like,
it happened. And when I had done all these interesting things at my office, and I was able to bring my daughter to work, and I was able to raise her for the first 9 months, sort of literally at my job. And then they were like, you need to come back without her. And I was like, really? It's time to go back? And I didn't really like that much. So my boss was kind enough to lay me off, and I started my own company. And I started a company when mompreneurs were probably not a label. But I started a training and development company, which then I morphed into a management consulting company. I had a couple other companies with other people along the way, and I embraced the entrepreneurial life. And through that journey, I was able to experience a lot of different things and help lots of people and refine who I am. And now I'm standing here today as the result.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. I interrupted.
Didn't interrupt. No, you did not, Deb. You keep going, babe. You're good.
I know. We've already discovered that we're just going to have so much fun doing this. It's so interesting to consult with businesses. And so tell us, when should somebody call you in? Because I think many people, they think, well, is it at the start? Is it at the end? But more importantly, Heaven forbid they admit that they need help.
Oh, that's a great question, Deb. What I find for most business owners, let's just start from startup. In startup company, most people don't hire outside people to help
Right.
them
Because
because they don't
money
have
is so tight.
money is so tight. And most entrepreneurs, business owners start with a dream or a really good skill set. E-Myth covers that really well. And then all of a sudden you have employees. I remember reading an article, an entrepreneur that said, I knew that I was responsible for people when someone came and said to me, I need to get a mortgage. Can you help me sign the piece of paperwork as my employer? Yeah, right. And a lot of entrepreneurs are like, how did I get here? Which then creates imposter syndrome. And what we look at is we say there are 10 people in the world. And 10 people in the world, 6 people are very happy where they are. So most entrepreneurs very happy where they are. They're happy where the business is going. They don't need to do anything. Two of those 10 people, they're on the slippery slope. And if they don't do something tomorrow, they're usually out of business. And then to the other 2 people are what we call elite athletes. They're corporate elite athletes or people who want to get better. They want to stay on the cutting edge. And those are the people who end up hiring folks because when you have a team around you, you end up making more money and being more successful.
Right. Well, and of course, we know that elite athletes always have coaches. They always have people who are supporting them. And it's funny, the more elite they get, it seems like the more support people they have around them. We hear about Tiger Woods' swing coach. I'm from Colorado. So Peyton Manning, John Elway, they always had coaches. And we're not talking, the overall coach, because there are those people, but they had individual coaches to help them with very specific things. And so they always knew we need that assistance. We can't do this alone.
Yeah. If I could reach in and kiss you on the cheek, I would not, because that is that if your listeners could understand that, then they will be super successful because most entrepreneurs are like, I do myself. It's like a badge of honor. I do myself. And the reality is that you need a team of people around you. And I'll give you this story in that there was a part in my organization when I was just stuck as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm doing this a long time. And I thought, what the heck is wrong with me? So I hired not 1, not 2, not 3, but I hired 4 different coaches to help me get out of where I was. I've always believed that you should invest in yourself. My grandma always said, if you invest yourself, you'll get it out threefold, which she's right. The day I opened up my company, when I had no money, the first person I hired was a coach. And I used to pay my coach before I paid me. So I really believe in somebody who's on the outside looking in can really help you. And I've added to my team along the way. Anyway, these 4 coaches, one of them was a Harvard neuroscientist. And from him, I learned that what was holding me back was my amygdala, my internal protection system, what we call caveman brain. That's what I called it because I couldn't say amygdala.
The fight or flight type of
fight, flight, or freeze. And that was the one thing that once I learned about that and then got a Ph.D. in business psychology, now I want to tell people that's what holding you back is this.
Right.
And when we think, oh, I don't need to hire a team, I can do myself. It's like, no, make money and hire people, make more money.
Right.
Have fun.
Yeah. And you're not admitting that there's anything wrong or that you're stupid or anything like that. It's interesting. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who's been going through a lot in her personal life. I mean, some people just wouldn't even survive it. And I said, have you had, are you by any chance talking with anyone about this? And she said, I am going for counseling. And she said, there's all this that's going on. And and I could tell that she still was very hesitant about it. And I told her, I said, the strongest thing you can do is to ask for help. And, and she said, yeah, there were so many things that she didn't even realize were going on until she did that. And of course, the same thing happens with our business. We don't realize that maybe we're not working with the right people. We're not doing our accounts receivable right. We're not doing our marketing, all of those various things until somebody else says, hey, have you thought about, or red flag, whatever it is that they're doing. But it takes that other person or persons in your case to say, here's what's going on.
Yeah, Deb, I agree with that. Here's the thing. Most people will hire a coach when something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember talking to a colleague and he said to me, show me someone who hires a coach in their 20s and 30s, and
Right.
I'll show you someone who's super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Most people hire a coach in their 40s and
Right.
50s
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
fix the things that are
Right.
wrong and
Yeah.
make it better.
We want
Right?
to be saying, hey, we're doing good. Let's do better.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's why I think that it's not really about more. It's
Mm-hmm.
always about better.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can be better, you're going to actually make more money
Mm-hmm.
and be better, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
help more people.
Right.
Whereas more just sometimes brings on bigger
Mm-hmm.
burden.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the tricky things that businesses have are those growing pains,
Mm.
as they're changing levels, as they went from maybe working in their home office to actually having employees and all of those things. So, how do you survive all of these growing pains?
Well, you don't want to survive, you want to thrive. So
Okay.
let's put it in the right terminology, because I really think it's more of thriving than
Right. Because
surviving.
surviving is just kind of getting by, right?
Yeah, right,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And why don't I want to have a fabulous growing business?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that most businesses, when they're growing, that's when they really should be investing in themselves so that
Mm-hmm.
they continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Most organizations, what they do is they grow, 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 grow. And then when they
Mm-hmm.
fall off the cliff a little bit, that's when they're like, oh, I just talked to a company yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
5 years of growth, 20% each year. And now
Mm-hmm.
this year they're flat and they're
Mm-hmm.
freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you work on your business when it was growing 20%?
Right. Yeah. It's funny. I always have people, because I do marketing, who say we're doing really, really well, so we're pulling back on our marketing. And I'm like, no,
Oh, no.
yeah, you need to continue that. And of course, their fear is, and it's a justifiable fear, is that people will come to them and they'll say, we don't have the bandwidth. We can't work with you. All of those various things. And so of course, there's that dichotomy. Okay, well then maybe you do need more staff, more whatever, to deal with those people and take them on.
Well, I think that when you're growing, you should be planning for the growth
Mm-hmm.
and having the milestones in your organization
Right.
and knowing when do I need to hire
Mm-hmm.
someone else?
Mm-hmm.
When do you not need to hire someone else? And I will tell you, marketing girl to marketing girl kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. I always think about the Great Depression and the
Mm-hmm.
Kellogg story versus the Post cereal story.
Mm-hmm.
And that Kellogg's was a startup company and they decided to put all their money into sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And Post cereal decided to stop doing sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the Great Depression, Kellogg's was the number one cereal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And they continue to be the number one cereal today. So
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing people cut is sales and marketing.
Right.
Let's cut it.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that sales and marketing is the lifeblood of your company. You
Mm-hmm.
may not understand it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you don't need it. And like during the pandemic, we doubled down on our marketing
Mm-hmm.
budget.
Right. Right.
Right. If you're growing, double down on your marketing budget.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Seriously.
Now you just said a word that so many people go at sales.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do sales,
Nope.
but of course we all have to do sales. And especially if you are the owner of your business, you absolutely positively have to do sales. But why are we so resistant to it? Why do we do the bleh?
Oh, that's caveman brain. Thanks for asking me that question, because we actually don't even call it sales in our company. We call it business development. Because sales is a 4-letter word, although my daughter tells me it's 5. So but I think and the reality is that from our caveman brains, which comes from 4 places, our childhood, our parents, our culture, and our life experience. So none of us want to come across as pushy, salesy, and aggressive.
Right. The snake oil salesman.
Right. Who am selling, right? So the fact is that we shy away from sales because we're afraid that we're going to be seen as something that we're not. And then the other thing is besides pushy, salesy, and aggressive, is we don't ask for money.
Right. That's just not, as my mother would say, that's not couth.
Yeah. Right.
And I always wondered what couth was, but
right. What is couth?
I know. And I live in the South now, so it would be, that's not ladylike.
Right. It's the truth. I'm a Northerner, so we'd be like, what?
I know. Oh, wait, I have a sound effect. Are we ready?
Yeah.
There we go. And there ain't nothing wrong with asking for that, folks.
Well, believe it or not, we worked with a marketing company and we were talking to them about their new business development. And I said to them, do you ever ask for the sale?
Mhm.
And they said, no.
Right.
They
We
said,
just assume they will go, hey, this is so fabulous. We want to work with you.
yeah, right. And they'll just tell us yes
Mhm.
when they want to. And I was
Mhm.
like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Mhm.
We call this something called the facilitator buyer, and that you're
Mhm.
facilitating someone to
Mhm.
buy something. May
Right.
not be you. That's
Mhm.
okay. They have a problem. You want to
Mhm.
give them a solution. So this client started asking, and their
Mhm.
sales went way up.
Right.
Hello.
Right. Well, and it's so funny because a lot of that, and of course, our marketing term for it is that call to action, right? And so, I discovered like on my blogging and even posting on Facebook, things like that, until I said, please comment, people wouldn't comment. It was like they felt they needed permission. And it was the weirdest thing because there's that huge block of emptiness there. But it was like nobody wanted to put anything in there until you said, please comment or tell us what you think, or all of those things that are that call to action.
Yes, and that's facilitating buying because
Mhm.
you're helping them to a solution.
Mhm.
Please comment, right?
Mhm.
And most of us as business owners, we did not get into business to be salespeople.
Right.
And yet the lifeblood of our company
Mhm.
is new business.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yeah. And even if you've reached the stage in your company where you have salespeople,
Mhm.
that's great, but you are still the person in charge. And you still should always be selling. I mean, that's
Yep.
it's just kind of one of those things. I mean, if somebody said, hey, Dr. Jean, tell me about your business, and you went, hey, the weather's nice, or deflected back to them, oh no, tell me about yours. That's just kind of a weird disconnect, right?
Well, not only that, it just shows that you don't have courage in what
Right.
you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things we tell people is to have a mission statement
Mm-hmm.
and to allow yourself to lean on that. So our mission is to leave you better than we found you.
Mm-hmm.
That is super important.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing to know is you have to know your ideal target client, like your science project.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we were all in fourth grade and we had to study like whales or volcanoes
Right.
or
Mm-hmm.
dolphins, frogs, and you knew everything about that
Mm-hmm.
person. Well, you need to know everything about your ideal target
Right.
client.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing. I don't know about you, but I like helping people. My mission
Mm-hmm.
is to leave you better than I found you. If you are my ideal person,
Mm-hmm.
then I am obligated
Right.
to help you, which
Mm-hmm.
means
Mm-hmm.
I have to say to you, hey, would you like to work with us?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't run a charity
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a bank.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's also important that every single person who works for you is a salesperson.
Mm.
And I learned that a long time ago, back when I still worked in corporate America. I worked for a huge you know, global whatever financial services company. At that point in the world, it was actually the seventh largest company in the world. And so that was really fun because we had lots of money. But I remember our CEO at that time, he said, every single person here should be able to answer some pretty basic questions about the company from the mailroom up to the CEO. He said, maybe it's just to say, hey, here's a little bit about what we do. If you're interested, here's who you need to talk to. And things like that. But it drives me nuts. Like when I go into, I always say, your local big box store, and I say, I'm looking for X. That's not my department. It might not be your department, but you darn well had better be able to tell me where I can find that help. Because if I can't, I turn around and I go back out and I go find the person who can. And so I think that's always so important, is to empower and trust those folks. I think that's the other thing, is so many people think, well, they're not going to give the right answer. No, if you help them with it, they will.
Well, we call it building a sales culture. And
Mm-hmm.
most organizations don't want to be in sales. And yet
Mm-hmm.
Dan Pink wrote that book, Everyone Sells.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about influencing.
Right.
And if you think about us
Mm-hmm.
every day, we're getting people to
Mm-hmm.
do things that we want them to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Right.
That's sales.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now,
Right?
here's the other thing that happens. We do our pitch. We think we've done fabulous.
Mm.
And then crickets, or in the
Mm.
popular terminology, we get ghosted.
Yeah, new terminology around that.
And so what the heck what do you do when you're not hearing back from someone?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You need to change your sales process or your
Okay.
new development process.
Right.
Because
Maybe you didn't ask for it, right? Back to our conversation.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So what we talk about is the person who's in front of you across the table, when you're sitting with them, you are the most important person to them at that time. Once you leave the meeting, you are no longer important to them because they're doing other things in their lives. Sort of like a movie. They're the movie star. You came into the scene as the supporting cast member, and then you left the scene and they continued on with the movie, right? So if you don't ask for the sale or for the next date and time, in that meeting, you are most likely going to be what we call in the chase, or you'll be ghosted. So there's two different things. The chase is you're literally chasing the person, blah, 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 blah. Ghosted is they don't respond back. So the first thing is that change your sales process so that you're asking for what you want up front. And that feels weird for some people. However, when you do it, you won't be this ghosting thing, because ghosting sucks.
I know, because you feel they didn't love me.
Yeah. Well, actually, it has nothing to do with you. And stop. That's caveman brain. It makes it about you because it's our internal protection system. The reality is people are super busy today. Like, how many emails did you get in your box?
Oh, too many.
Too many, right? And if my solution is what you need, then I have to really do something called consequences selling, which most of us don't like selling on consequences. We like selling on benefits. Yet research shows that most people will buy on consequences. So if you're not nooging down enough on the consequences, and asking them, when would they like to solve this problem? So we actually teach people something called the 6 killer questions. Yeah, I'll give them to you. It's fine. I developed these questions because I used to ask like 14 million different questions. And I'm like, I can't remember.
It's got to be easier.
Got to be easier. So I developed 6 questions, and then I taught them to my clients. And one of my clients, like, these are killer questions, because every time I ask them, I get the sale. Like, okay, so then they became the 6 killer questions. And the last question of the 6 is, when would you like to get started? Now, some people are like, oh, that's so forward. Well, like, when are you thinking about getting started? Right? What is your timeline for getting started? It's not to me a closing question at all. It's a question of, what is your level of interest in doing something with me?
What's next thing? Do we need to have another meeting? Does, all of those various things. But
exactly.
When do you when you want to get started encompasses all of that.
When do you want to get started? And yet people really struggle asking for that question. So when you're in the chase, or ghosted, then you got to think to yourself, first of all, you have to do it in their language, not yours, which most people don't do. And you have to remember what was the reason why they wanted to work with you. To me, we call them love notes. We send a love note every week. Some people are like, that's so much. Some of my clients send them every other day. Some people send them twice a week.
Depends on what it is, right?
And never more than every other week, like never more than 2 weeks, because then it's not too far out. And it's something of interest. It's something that you need to tell them. It's something that says, hey, am I bothering you? Do you still want to do this?
Found this great resource I thought you might find valuable. All those
That's
things.
number one. And then by the third one, you're like, hey, it's been 3 weeks since we spoke, 6 weeks since we spoke. Is this still a problem for you? Are you still interested in learning?
And then if you're still ghosted, it's you put it on your email list, right?
Well, yeah, because that's the other thing is people don't want to clear out their pipeline because then they don't have anyone to talk to. And I'm like, yeah, like you said, email list, clear it out and then fill it in.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, when you talk about chasing someone, to me, that is also, oh my God, we have to have the sale. We're desperate. We're urgent to get it. And, and we might be, I mean, there's no, no 2 ways around it. There are times where we don't make that sale. We don't pay our bills. We're done. And so, or even something like, I don't make that sale. Oh, I can't buy that new computer, whatever it is. I mean, and so there is some degree of urgency always. But anytime you let someone see you're desperate, then they're now in control. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I remember when I first started my company, and I got, believe it or not, the way I got my first client was I was installing office furniture into my office, and they messed up, so they had to send someone back. And when the person came back, I said to them, "Does this happen often?" And he said, "Oh, yes, all the time." I'm like, is there someone I can talk to about that? And they said, yes. So I called up the vice president. I remember talking to my coach, and he was like, right. And I'm sitting in a gas station. The guy I picked up, and he was like, Why do we need to meet? Why do we need to meet? Why do we need to
Mhm.
meet? Like that kind of thing. And then I told him why we needed to meet.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, when are you available? And I thought to myself, I have a full nothing to do 7 days in front of me. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I'm very busy.
Yes. Flip, 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 flip through your day timer, right? Mhm.
Right. Oh, I really want to say tomorrow because I'm a desperate girl,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
like, what does next Thursday look like? I
Mhm.
think I have an opening at 10 o'clock.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. And
Right.
then he's like, whoa, she's
Oh, she's
busy.
busy. She must be really good.
Mhm. She's gonna fit me in. Mhm.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
So there is a little bit of, I think, acting and having an avatar in business development that
Mhm.
you can't act desperate. Yeah.
Right.
Did I want to meet the guy the next day? Yeah, I
Mhm.
had no money coming in, but
Mhm. Right. Well, and of course, if somebody knows you're desperate, then they know they can negotiate or offer a much less price because you're going to take whatever they offer.
yeah, right. Or there, yes. And to me, this is that I often use this line. I never let money stand in the way of working with a person I really want to work with.
Mhm. Right. You can figure
So,
something out. Mhm.
right. So I understand you want to be at a lesser rate and I'm at
Mhm.
this higher rate. So let's figure out how we make that
Mhm.
work.
Right.
That's what that
Right.
looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend who I've been in a mastermind with for a long time. He said, never put stuff on sale.
No.
And he said, there's and of course the tricky thing with offering sales, offering discounts is then it ends up kind of carrying forward. Somebody might go, well, hey, Dr. Jean, you gave my friend Bob this killer deal. I want it too.
Yeah.
And then you're like, uh, and so yeah, offering things like that now, and again, like you said, you can find ways to do it where it works for everybody without the desperation again.
Exactly. And the reality of things yourself, why am I desperate?
Mm-hmm.
What made me so desperate? And
Right.
that goes back, believe it or not, it goes back to a finance question
Mm-hmm.
of how much money do you need? How much
Right.
money is the
Mm-hmm.
bank? And then what are you putting away as
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
building your business? But even I will find, like I had a woman in a group that I was with, she had a $30 million business. She brought home $30,000 a year. I thought I would not be doing that job.
No, something's off there. Mm-hmm.
Right. But the reality is that for us, we really work with second stage entrepreneurs, people
Mm-hmm.
who have established businesses
Mm-hmm.
and want to grow them more.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is a really interesting thing because growth can be challenging
Mm-hmm.
when you are looking to grow. And it's not just from a money point of view,
Right.
from a sales point of
Mm-hmm.
view, and from a structure point of view.
Right. Well, and definitely from the part of that structural point of view is how do you get the right people?
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that because most people are terrible at hiring,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. We have no clue, and I've been through this process. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I am a recovering HR person. So
Mm-hmm.
first, it all starts with your values.
Ah.
It really does. It all starts when we call them key characteristics. We don't
Mm-hmm.
even call them core values, but you
Mm-hmm.
can call them core values. And they can't
Mm-hmm.
be something like honesty and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I just literally talked to a guy yesterday. He
You're
was
not honest. You're not. You don't have
no,
yeah.
no, no. Yeah, right. Like, like that should be like kind of table stakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? What makes your company so unique?
Right.
People would want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do is you hire people on those key
Mm-hmm.
characteristics. So we worked with a very large nursing home and they were having a lot of trouble with staff. We
Mm-hmm.
figured out their key characteristics
Mm-hmm.
like passion, compassion, motivation, and two other ones I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And what we asked them to do in the hiring process, we would say, so Deb, you're here to talk about being a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
These are our 5 key characteristics or core values. We're going to ask you to rate yourself on these. Please give us your
Mm-hmm.
believe you are. Okay.
Right.
So then how would you rate yourself on compassion?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd say, well, I'm a 9. And
Right.
they would say, well,
they're not going to say I'm a 2.
no, but they're not going to say they're a 10.
Right.
So then we would say, false modesty aside,
Mm-hmm.
please, if you really believe you're so amazing
Right.
at being compassionate,
Mm-hmm.
rate yourself a 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person would say, yeah, I'm a 10. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us why.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or I remember one that we were like, we said, tell us about compassion. And she said, I'm an 8. And we're like, oh, okay, well, re-rate yourself again. She goes, no, I'm still an 8. And we were
Mm-hmm.
like, tell us what makes you an 8. She goes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the end of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. I just want to retire. I want to work for the next 15
Okay.
years.
So she's honest.
She was honest,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't hire her because she wasn't a 10 compassion.
Mm-hmm.
However, other people are going to hire her because she's a great nurse.
Right. And she might be, less expensive. I mean, all those various things.
Right. But she really comes from core values, and then hiring, firing, promoting on those core values, and rating people on those core values.
Right.
Yeah. That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned your book at the start, and it's Give Up Goals and Get Results. And I haven't had the opportunity yet to read it, but I love that title because we all are told we have to have goals. We have to have goals. And, again, we're marketing people. We have BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, which I hate those things. I mean, because for something to be like that, you're going to say, I want to be a millionaire in 2 years. Well, that's not going to work unless you play the lottery and you win, right? And so, but I also tell people, you have to know where you're going, and that's and so it's about that. Like, you don't get in the car and say, Siri, take me somewhere. Now, Siri, I think my Siri just loves to get me lost, and so she probably would have a great time with this. But why is it that we have to give up goals to get results?
All right, so there's a lot of unpacking here, Deb. You ready?
Right.
Okay. So most of us, when we think about a goal, we, as you said, we make it too large.
Right.
We fail. So it's not realistic.
And then we're crushed.
And then we don't want to do any more goals because that's terrible. The majority of us actually never set goals. And when we do set goals, we don't achieve goals. And then we get angry with the goals, or it's somebody else's goal, and someone is not keeping us accountable to the goal. So the fact is that and the word goal itself, the way our brains hear language, it's a very big of a downer. It goes down. We like words that go up. Up is positive, down is negative. So goal is
it does. The tone kind of drops off.
Right. So that makes it automatically, from a subconscious level, something we don't want to do. Okay. So I really believe in results. And what's interesting is our brains are hardwired for results. We're not hardwired for goals. Think about it. I'm not in the goal of surviving as a cave person. Right. My goal is not to find a tiger today to eat. Right. Like, that's not my goal. I like my result. I have my outcome. Yes. What I need to achieve today to live is to find a tiger to eat. Right. Like, very different in how we approach goals than we do results. And I find that when I come to work with companies that have lots of goals, and then I say to them, okay, and this is something I created called Z to A thinking. What's the end game that you want? What's the outcome that you're looking for? What do you want to achieve? And then you start to work backwards into the steps that will get you to the outcome that you're looking for. And now you have a whole playbook that you can play from A to Z. Most of us get lost when we go, hey, when you're like, I get in the car, I want to go to San Francisco. Hey, Siri, take me to San Francisco. Right. And then we get detoured along the way. And next, we're in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Good. We'll go here.
Yeah. Well, this was fun.
Right. And then we get upset that we didn't get to the right place. And then it's like, and then we beat ourselves up and berate ourselves. And that all, it seems like a terribly vicious cycle. So when you give up goals and you actually focus on outcomes, you will get them, because however our brains are hardwired. Think about this. When you buy a white car, how many white cars do you see?
Oh, lots of white cars. When you're thinking about buying a white car, that's all you see.
Right. That's your brain reinforcing that you're doing the right thing, and that you will survive by buying a white car. You will live because you have a white car. So if you think about that, results are this. That's why if you make it an outcome, the brain goes, oh, we got to survive. Get the outcome.
And results are measurable. Now it might not be a number, but because it might be, like you said, my result is that I'm going to live through the day, but it is good, obviously, if it is a number, because then, okay, well, the next result I want is, 5 times that or whatever. But it's tricky because then we fall back into goals again, right?
Well, and here's the thing. Most of us don't like to be held accountable, and metrics are accountable, and metrics actually tell our story. And we feel that we're failures because we have these metrics, right? My daughter is a competitive equestrian. I read a book by an Olympian who said that horses are like humans. They're lazy and need to be motivated. I can't tell you how many companies I work with that resist metrics. And yet when you put in metrics, simple, easy scorecard, write some stuff down, put it on an Excel spreadsheet, measure it every week, you see what's going wrong and you can change it.
Yeah.
Super easy.
And again, they have to be things that are achievable, and but it is it's back to Siri. I mean, you have to have something that's in there, or you're just going to flounder around and end up in Houston, Texas.
Correct. And yet a lot of us think, well, Houston, Texas is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But those of us who actually set results
Mm-hmm.
are much more successful
Mm-hmm.
because we have a destination. And when you set that, remember you talked about a sales culture.
Mm-hmm.
When you set results for every single person in your company,
Mm-hmm.
they all know where you're going.
Right.
I want to help you get there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, part of that is working with them to determine those. I used to hate it when I was in corporate America. And your boss would come and tell you, you have to do this, this, and this. And you're like, but and and they of course had somebody higher than them who had said the same thing, and it was just this whole trickle down thing. Now, we're not saying that that you have these huge company meetings, because meetings are horrible and meetings are awful, but you have to have brought your team in. It's back to the whole empowering thing. If I'm going to say that your result is X, have I talked to you to make sure that you can actually achieve X?
Well, you need to know the steps to get to X.
Right.
So that's
what you might need to do to help them to get to X.
Yeah. Well, in this way, if you work together on the result, so here's Z, here's Y, here's X, here's W, and we work back, and then now we know all the steps. I can also then measure you on all the steps or help you along the way when you get stuck.
Right.
And it's not just willy-nilly, so to speak.
Right.
And willy-nilly goes with couth.
I know. That's it. Yeah. I always wondered who was Willie, or for Pete, right? For Pete's sake. Well, why, we love those old sayings. But yeah, it is one of those things where we do get, when things don't go right, then we flounder, like I'm trying to say now. And we do, we just get totally lost, which is again why we have to bring someone in to help us. And so we don't have that much time left. So please tell us how people see, I know how to do these segues, right? Please tell us, how you can help with people, and what are the services that you provide?
So we actually do two things. We help you grow through new business development, and we can do that individually or with a team. Or we can help you with your structure, and we do that with something called EOS, which is called an Entrepreneur Operating System. So between those two things, we can help your company grow and make money and have fun.
And have fun? No.
Yeah, always have fun. It's always about having fun. And the way you do that is just go to cavemanbrain.com. So if you go to cavemanbrain.com, you can find we have resources, and you can click on that to get into the EOS website, and there's classes, and you can sign up for stuff. Go to there. You learn everything about us. As I said, our mission is to leave you better than we found you. So if you want free resources, go there, do it yourself. That's great. If you need help, we're here to help you, and we can support you in any way that might be.
Right. And of course you have your book. So tell us just a little bit more about Give Up Your Goals and Get Results.
So Give Up Goals, Get Results actually teaches you a process of how you can get better results in your life by no longer setting goals. It's a workbook book. It's a workbook book. Yeah, it's a workbook book. It's a workbook book. There's each chapter has places where you can actually work through the lessons that we teach you.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, for whatever it is, $10, you now have a system that will help you actually achieve the results that you're looking for, as opposed to floundering around and thinking, I haven't been able to do this yet.
Right.
There you go.
Well, as this airs, it's right before Independence Day. So are there any things that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we want to be declaring ourselves independent from?
Well, interesting that you might say that, because this is what we tell all of our business owners and our entrepreneurs. The 4th of July is a rest day. So most entrepreneurs and business owners run, and work as hard as they possibly can, and they never take recovery time. We have learned that recovery time is actually what helps your caveman brain rejuvenate so that you can continue to run. Otherwise, you get burnt out, you're tired, you don't achieve stuff. So we have weekly video tips to go out. So on Monday, and they always happen on Monday or Thursday, on Monday, you will learn about the fact that you're recovering on the 4th of July, and we call it Recovery Day. So there's you're declaring that you're going to recover and rest and see your friends and have some fun.
And eat a hot dog or two.
Right, exactly. And then you can start running again
right
on the 5th.
Perfect. I love it. Well, this really has been so much fun. And I got through just a smidgen of my notes. So we will definitely have you on again because I think this is so important and it applies to everybody. It doesn't matter if you are the total solopreneur trying to figure out how to do this stuff on your own or somebody who has a multi-million-dollar corporation. This is applicable to everyone. So we will definitely have Dr. Jean on again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Oh, I always think to myself, keep moving forward. There are times where you'll be stuck. There'll be times where caveman brain is springing in your head and telling you all the things you can't do, and just keep shuffling your feet forward. I've been successful because I've always moved ahead and I've always hired a coach to help me get through it. Oh, don't think you can do it yourself. Keep moving forward and hire people around you to help you get there.
I love it. And I cannot wait until we talk with Dr. Jean Oursler again. Until then, I'm Deb Creer and have a fabulous day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.